Welcome to The Gavel. I am Terry Ikumi. Now, this week we have broken down the activities of the National Assembly into the two different chambers, Senate and House of Representatives, beginning with the Senate. The big story from the Senate is the approval of $22.7 billion foreign loan request of President Muhammadu Buhari from the initial amount of $29.96 billion. But that did not happen so easily. The opposition lawmakers had questions of their own. It led to a disagreement which forced the Senate into an executive session away from the eyes of the press. The loan, according to the president, is part of the federal government's external borrowing plan and targets projects like infrastructure, agriculture, health, education, water supply, growth, and employment generation. Now, the interesting thing about this loan request is that it was turned down by the 8th Senate for lacking in details.
Those in favor of the recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
In 2017, the 8th National Assembly passed the Northeast Development Commission Bill, and President Muhammadu Buhari signed it into law in October 2017. The commission is mandated to see to the development of the Northeast, devastated by terrorism and insurgency. Since the passage of the bill, federal lawmakers from all the geopolitical zones have been clamoring for the establishment of different development commissions in their regions.
Today, with an ever-increasing population,
the latest is for the establishment of the Southwest Development Commission, which already scaled second reading in the House of Representatives.
The push for the establishment of the Southwest Development Commission is an attempt to address the dwindling fortunes of the Southwest region by implementing a regional development plan, taking into consideration the region's unique endowments, natural advantages, and capabilities. This is one of the major reasons we are proposing the establishment of this commission.
If you look at this bill,
while some lawmakers were in support of the bill, others had their reservations, but the bill, however, scaled second reading.
The whole thing about the bill is all about development. And I don't think there's anybody in this chamber who can stand up to say that development is not good in any part of this country.
What I would suggest, Mr. President, in order not to divide this chamber, is for every geopolitical zone to come up with their own development agenda. Yes. If this is done, it will satisfy virtually everybody, and it will be seen that we are representing our people very well.
There was first Ometeku. Now there is Southwest Development Commission. Now, all the other commissions that were approved by this Senate, NDDC, Northeast, were actually children of circumstances. Northeast was devastated.
What we are doing today, indirectly, is if you decide, like my distinguished Senator Lero has said, I agree with him. If you say we will pass this, then every zone will have its own commission, including Midwest. We will bring the Midwest Development Commission for the people, for Edo and Delta. That's a commission of its own.
Mr. President, my highly...
Another proposed legislation which was read for the first time in the Senate is a bill for the establishment of a National Electoral Offences Commission. The commission is to prosecute electoral offenders in Nigeria and address problems of electoral violence, ballot snatching, underage voting, vote buying, among others.
INEC clearly does not have the needed human capacity to prosecute electoral offences committed across Nigeria's 119,973 polling units, 8,809 wards, 360 federal constituencies, 109 senatorial districts, and 774 local governments.
The bill has been referred to the Committee on INEC to report back in 4 weeks.
There are some aspects of this loan that...
At the final plenary session in the upper chamber, the Senate Minority Leader was very vocal on how he felt about plans by the executive to take a loan of $22.7 billion. President Muhammadu Buhari had sent the external borrowing plan to the Senate for approval. Out of the total borrowing request of $22.7 billion, the sum of $17.1 million is to be borrowed from China Exim Bank to cover road, rail, electricity and water projects, as well as the NTA digitalization project, agriculture, health and education projects, among others.
The committee notes that this loan request includes programs which continue to pursue the need for a social safety net for the poor, vulnerable, and needy among our population.
When it was time for lawmakers to vote for or against the loan request, the Senate Minority Leader was still not comfortable.
The reason why they put it, this is for the power sector, this is for the road sector, this is for the rest, is so that we can look at it individually. So, will we not look at it?
Our committee had worked on this. They have recommended certain things. What we vote on is the recommendation of the committee, and they are itemized on the report. So when we vote, you could decide to vote against everything.
We who are going to pay back, that are making efforts to make sure that this is clarified to other people. And Mr. President, you are not giving us the privilege to make our points known.
I would appeal to you to allow us go to an executive session for 10 minutes.
The disagreement forced lawmakers into an executive session away from the eyes of the press. About 45 minutes later, the doors were opened and the Senate approved the external borrowing request of $22.7 billion. The approved loan will be funded by the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, Japan International Cooperation Agency, German Development Bank, China Exim Bank, and the French Development Agency. This new loan will raise the country's debt profile to 33 trillion naira.